when it comes to politics, I don't trust PBD at all. And I definitely don't trust Stephen A. Smith, a Democratic plant. Let's jump into the video and I'll get into it.
This one here. So Stephen A.'s been very vocal, calling out Kamala, calling out everybody, calling out everyone on the left. And James here, he's having a sip of milk or some called beer. And go ahead, Rob, play the clip.
A warm glass. Shut the hell up.
He don't know his ass.
No, go back a little bit. That was Adam. That's not James.
Tell the difference.
Go ahead.
When it comes to politics, he don't know his ass from a hole in the ground. He's on that running his goddamn mouth about how he may have to run as a Democrat because there's nothing left of the Democratic Party. There's no talent. Stephen A., are you shitting me? I mean, you say you're friends with Wes Moore and you say you're friends with Josh Shapiro. I'm friends with both of them. I think they're really extraordinary, talented people. I got news for you, dude. There's 6 or 7 other people in the Democratic Party that are just that talented. So before you start running your fucking mouth off about politics, a topic of which you really don't know anything about, you ought to sit back and think about it and call some people and run it by them. But don't let your political stupidity stand in the way of your outspoken and I think often insightful views when it comes to American sports, of which I think you are an expert at.
And pause it right
you
there.
know where.
Okay, now go to Stephen A. and his response.
How condescending.
Okay. Yeah, let Stephen A. play. Go for it. Rob, how long is it?
I cut out all the fat. This gets right to the portion.
Okay, go for it.
Be so rude. You know, dropping F-bombs and going off like that. I mean, I know that's your nature. I understand that, but let's just say 2 can do that, you know. I mean, if you really wanted to get raw, ain't nobody hiding from that. I could be that way. It's just that my mama taught me to respect my elders. And you are 80 years of age, if I remember correctly. And I'm trying to be respectful, so I'm not going to come at you the way that you came at me. I thought that was completely unnecessary. That's number 1. Number 2, I religiously say I'm no political aficionado. I religiously say I don't know politics like that. I read. I watch the news. I'm a conscientious observer. But I do have to ask you a question, Mr. James Carville, albeit rhetorically. You do know that you're talking to a voter, right?
Mm-hmm.
Could that be one of the reasons why y'all lost? Just a thought. Because you sound like one of those old curmudgeons that want things to stay or be the way that they used to be, and you're resentful, harboring an abundance of animosity because you're not being heard. That's not Stephen A. Smith's fault, sir. That's that damn Democratic Party that I was talking about.
Okay. So now, Stephen A., how far are you going to go with
You
this?
see, they shouldn't listen to me. Do you realize, James Carville, that means they shouldn't have listened to you either?
Yeah.
Which makes no sense because we were both right. Because guess what? What I was saying is what you were saying. I saw you on Fox News. I saw you on CNN. I saw you on your podcast before the election.
Yeah.
Where the hell you think I got some of the stuff from? When you were talking about the Democratic Party, I'm making that up.
You can pause it right
I'm making.
All right. So, Stephen A., they don't like you. It's that simple, bro. They don't like you. The same way they don't like RFK, who's now in Trump's administration. The same way they didn't like Tulsi. The same way they don't like Rogan. The same way they don't like Musk. The same way they don't like any of us. Because either you get in line or shut the hell up, is what he's saying. I wouldn't say that to you. That's what he's saying. And that's not in your nature. But if you're going to shine in that party.
I think Patrick Bet David just admitted right there by accident that he is a Democrat because he just said that's why they don't like any of us when he was referring to Democrats. So really pay attention to this and what he's saying. Pay attention.
You have to lock it up and listen to what they got to tell you. And it's not in your DNA. It's just not. That's not in your DNA. So what are you going to do? create a new community there? That's been tried. They don't like your type. So you have a couple choices. One, try to fight it and see what they do. You ain't going to get their money. You're not. You need the money. You're not going to get their money. You don't have that kind of money. You need billions. You need $1.5 billion. They're not going to give you the money. None of those guys are going to support you financially. They're not. Because the candidates on the left are usually bought by someone with favors. Yesterday I had Nicolas Ferreira here from Brazil. And he's talking about how this guy named Kassab, Gilberto Kassab, who is the leader of the Worker Party in Brazil, who used to be the mayor of Sao Paulo, who is the most powerful man in Brazil right now because he is the leader of the political party that's on the center. And the center means you give them money and favors, they'll do anything you want them to do, but they have a lot of control. Right now they have a lot of control. He says, my worry is the closer he gets to Bolsonaro, he's going to ask for a favor. I wonder how big that favor is and how dirty that favor is, that it contradicts our values and principles. Are you going to do that? I don't know if you will. So you know what's going to happen to you? You're eventually, when you're in your room, in your house, by yourself, nobody else around you, you're eventually going to be talking to your mom, because I know how much she means to you, and having a conversation saying, what do I do, Mom? Do I sit this one out? Do I trust my gut and go? What do I do? If you came as a center-right candidate, which I think where you are, you know you are. You're not going to say it publicly, but you know what I'm saying? You're like a center-right guy, dude. You know what I'm saying? If you came out as a center-right guy, I think it'd be interesting to see you run in 2028 and see what happens. So I think if you run on the left, they will destroy you because they do not like your type. They like Biden type. They like the yes man. You ain't that guy. So what are you going to do? You're going to keep playing this? You're working your way into being a conservative here very soon because you're showing a lot of conservative tendencies. You are. But I know the fear of what could happen if you do something like that. Anyways, that's my thoughts on this. James Carville going after, it's kind of like when a young guy, because Stephen A. is young in politics, and James 80 years old. Yeah. It's when a young guy comes up in business, and I was coming up, and I would start getting vocal and all this stuff, and I never forget when I wrote you ever hear me talk about when I wrote my Jerry Maguire 16-page, 16 points, whatever? One of my old friends, I've been trying to look for this proposal that I wrote.
Let's look what the con man Patrick Bet-David just said. Let's break it down word for word. First, he admitted to being a Democrat by accident. He tries to pretend like he's this conservative, and he's not a conservative. He's not a friend of conservatives. Just because he had Donald Trump on his platform doesn't mean that he's a conservative. He needs to make money like everybody else. So let's get that out of the way. When he said, just like they don't like us, he was referring to Democrats. The second thing, Democrats are using Stephen A. Smith the same exact way to get into politics, the same exact way Donald Trump got into politics. Donald Trump used to be a TV personality. He had nothing to do with politics. We knew he could run the country because he's a great businessman. They're trying to do the same thing with Stephen A. Smith. So he's a TV personality who doesn't fit in. Now, the Democratic side is rejecting him. So Patrick Bet-David is saying, or pretending to reject him, because that's always a possibility. This could be them just playing chess ahead of the next election, being 5 steps ahead. Stephen A. Smith is no friend to conservatives. He's not a conservative. He's not a right centrist by any stretch of the imagination. They're taking the same playbook that they use for Donald Trump, where everybody rejects him, and then Donald ran as a conservative. Meanwhile, his whole life, growing up in New York, Donald Trump was a Democrat. All the Democrats loved him. The View loved him. The mayor, everybody loved Donald Trump until he ran as a conservative. Does he align more with conservative values? Absolutely. Does Stephen A. Smith? No. So this is a Democratic plan to try to, they know that the public, for the most part, is not going for liberalism anymore. So they'll have their guy look like he's a conservative. He'll run as a conservative. He'll get installed as the president and be the true liberal that he truly is. Stephen A. Smith is not a conservative. He has admitted on multiple shows, even after the election, that he voted for Kamala Harris that he voted for Joe Biden. So, according to the media and according to PBD and all these media people, Stephen A. Smith is the smartest man that ever lived. He's so witty. He's so funny. He's so intelligent. Wait, the smartest man alive didn't see all the destruction that Kamala Harris and Joe Biden did to the country, but he still voted for them? But we're supposed to believe that he's a conservative, PBD? So let's get into Patrick Bet-David. My problem with him. He's been confronted multiple times by CoffeeZilla for being a fraud, how he accumulated his wealth. CoffeeZilla is super reputable. Multiple reporters, podcasters have done stories on him. Patrick Bet-David knows how big CoffeeZilla is. 2 million followers, 5 million. He tries to fix it. And what does Patrick Bet-David say? He doesn't deny being a scammer. He doesn't deny the way he makes his money. He says, well, I sold the dream. Like Barrack Obama. He brought up Barrack Obama. Well, Barrack Obama sold the dream, and so did I. I sold the dream. See, the dream doesn't mean that it's real. They're just selling you something to give you hope. Meanwhile, there is no hope in that fake dream. Zero. None. So he accumulated all his wealth by making all these young people believe you could sell insurance just like me and you'll be a trillionaire. Meanwhile, it was all a scam. They did something. They got a sign-up fee. All the sign-up fees went to Patrick Bet-David. Pyramid scheme. He acquired all of his wealth. And he just comes out and admits it. I'm not a scammer. I just sold the dream. That's a scammer. So you didn't sell these young people an opportunity to create a living. You didn't say, hey, I'm going to give you a decent wage per hour. Here's $25 per hour. Here's medical insurance. And oh, by the way, with this commission that you make, there's a possibility that you become a millionaire. That's what a good American citizen does. That's what a real business person does. They don't sell a dream. They don't sell a pipe dream where your chance of even survive. You've seen the charts that CoffeeZilla showed. Out of like 20 million people, 19,999,000 people made like $100. Literally, there was 0.06% of people in the chart that were able to make a living like $100,000 a year or more off of how Patrick Bet-David accumulated his wealth, making you believe that you could have the same job as him or accumulate the same wealth as him. So what does Patrick Bet-David do? He does just what Democrats do. They don't run on substance. They don't run on policy. They parade around famous people. They bring out all these famous people, singers, actors. Vote for us. Vote for us. We know what's best for you. Look at us. We're famous. That's what Democrats do. And that's what Patrick Bet-David does at all these rallies and big things that he has to make people join up to sell insurance. He does the same exact thing. You know why he does the same exact thing? Because he's a Democrat. Stephen A. Smith is not a conservative. By any stretch, he's not a centrist. He's a radical liberal elitist that lives in New York City, that sees on a daily basis all the destruction that Democrats did, and he doesn't care, just like the rest of the Democratic Party. As they drive to their mansions, their gated communities, their houses in the Hamptons, why the middle class working man deals with the crime in their neighborhood, gets taxed to death, why a bunch of elitist, communist scum Democrats live like kings and queens. Patrick Bet-David is no friend to Republicans or Donald Trump. Just because he gave Trump a platform, it means absolutely nothing. He's a con man. He needs to get paid like the rest of us. He knows it's going to bring in 100 million views on the video. And as much as PBD isn't a friend to Republicans, Stephen A. Smith is a million times worse than PBD. He's a plant. That's exact. He wants Republicans to, oh, he's not a bad guy. I see him every day on my sports channel. He seems to make sense sometimes. He's not a radical. no, he's in the middle. He's the furthest to the right Democrat, and he might even be a Republican. He is not even close to that. He's a radical liberal, just like the rest of them. Don't be fooled.